Welcome back to the Information Security Stack together with me, Daniel Gustafsson, and Kim Hindart.
Hoba.
Today, Kim, we are going to talk about something that it might be a very Swedish thing, to be honest with you, but we're going to try to translate it. I'm not even sure that this is a thing in all the countries that might listen to this podcast, but in Sweden we have something called personal development talks, which is actually instated by law that each employer must have at least once a year, I believe it is, with every employee to sit down and have a discussion regarding the personal development of that specific employee. And this is done, as I said, once a year. And you have a bit of a rant regarding this, which I'm going to let loose here in 2 seconds, where you feel that we don't use it properly, we don't take the time properly to get the most out of it. So what is your beef regarding personal development talks?
Yeah, it's a bit of a waste, unfortunately, because since it's a mandatory thing, most managers just think, oh, how annoying, let's get rid of it as fast as possible because it's a mandatory thing, we just do it and then go away. But I feel since we are at least forced to do this once per year, we're not taking the opportunity to get the most out of it. We have to do it. And then we do it, and then the discussions tends to end up, yeah, the weather is nice. Did your football team win last year? Yes, great. And then, what do you want? Yeah, everything is okay. I feel fine, and I want an adjustable desk so I can stand and work a bit. And if you have a 2-hour call between an employee and their manager, and the only thing you can add to the protocol is the employee wants an adjustable desk. Well, personal development, adjustable desk. I feel that was a pretty wasted time if that was the only conclusion they could come with last year. And mind you, this is a real example. And did this poor employee get an adjustable desk? No, 1 year later, he still hasn't gotten an adjustable desk. And here's my rant a bit.
Mm-hmm.
So, there is a model, and you will get to explain this model.
Right. So yeah, let's quickly go through it. There is a behavior model. Once upon a time, back in the 1930s, that is, there was a German psychologist called Kurt Lewin who research regarding human behavior in general and human change in general, and he came up with a model called the Levin's model of human change, and that states behavior equals identity plus situation. Meaning, if I want to change a behavior in a person, you have the identity portion, meaning who I am, the way I behave, my likes, my dislikes, the way I act, and the way I think. That's my identity, and that's the things I've been practicing the most throughout my lifespan. And the situation portion is every day. Now, identity, of course, takes time. It takes a long time, and to change identity takes an enormously long time. But the situation portion you can actually change on a daily basis. So, for instance, your example with an adjustable desk, that is not an identity topic. That is a situation topic. Meaning, if I actually give you as a manager your adjustable desk, all I've done to your benefit though is change your situation. So the situation we can work with on a daily basis, and we should work with on a daily basis. The identity portion, though, takes longer time. Now, most psychologists says that you should stay away from even trying to change a person's identity because A, it takes a long time, and B, you're probably gonna fail if you don't take the time necessary to change the identity of the individual, and C, if the person does not want to change, you are bound to fail. So the identity portion is tougher to work with, but the situation is where we can actually work with on a daily basis. Now, to your point, a personal development talk should not be about situations right now, right here. Well, they could absolutely be brought up, but they can also be fixed tomorrow. Let's say that I want to work between 9 and 6 rather than 8 and 5. We can fix that tomorrow. As long as you and I agree on the fact that, yeah, I work 9 to 6 and you work 8 to 5. That's a situation I can change tomorrow. It's not something we have to plan a year ahead for. But if I want to develop my skills in something, let's say take a practice course or develop a completely new skill, or I want to change my actual work. Maybe I'm a technician today and I want to start to work with administrative things. Why anyone would want to do that, I don't know. Yeah, we're two living proofs of that. So, but let's say I want to completely change my direction in the way I work, then that's the identity portion. That's going to take time. So your claim into this is that if we're going to spend time into talking once a year regarding personal development, let's talk about personal development and not situational change.
Yeah, because if the only time a year you as a manager talk with your employees about their situation is on during the mandatory talk, and then you should have a connection with your employees about their situation on a more frequent basis than once per year. Just have to have that.
Yes.
So you should open up for having more communication regarding their situations. If you don't, well, then start doing that. The situation thing should be a daily thing.
Yes, you should care about your employees every day and their situation every
not
day.
Just once per year.
No,
that's not good.
That's poor leadership. That is defined as poor leadership.
But if we talk about my identity, that is a combination of my biology. I will not become any taller. That's the fact of life, so unfortunately. So yeah, I'm the height I am. So my biology is one thing. But then my identity is based on my gathered experiences, all my gathered past experiences, in combination with my biology, is what shapes my identity today. And I totally agree that with you say you shouldn't try and change this. No, but I can have a personal goal on where I want to develop.
Yes.
Like you said, if I've been smoking for 14 years and want to quit smoking.
Yep.
That's a goal I can set, but of course it's hard to change because smoking has become part of my identity. But then it's something I can strive for and personally develop. So what can we do as a manager employee in that situation? Well, we can agree upon, okay, I as an employee want to have another type of experience added to my gathered past experiences. So in 1 year, what do I want to have added in my past experience? What? You cannot change people's past. That's just. But you can change what would their experience be looking like a year from now. That's something you can contribute to and say, okay, so what the discussion should be is, today I have this in my experience bank, and I wish to add these things in 1 year's time.
Yep.
And that is something both you as an employee, and that's why I'm encouraging today, make a Christmas wish list. Write down a Christmas wish list. And like I said, with all kids, don't expect to get all the things you have on your Christmas wish list.
Nope.
Nah, but as an employee, make sure they get at least one thing on their Christmas wish list.
Yes.
Because if you get nothing from the Christmas wish list, every kid will be disappointed.
Yes. And angry and upset.
And try and listen to them, because how much you as a manager might think, oh, clothing is perfect. If you're going to give just clothing to your kid for Christmas, and the only thing they get is socks for Christmas, they would be disappointed, I promise you. So yeah. So however useful and good there is for them, try and see if you can at least talk to them and find out what can we do together to add. And be perfectly clear, this will not change their identity immediately.
Nope.
But gathered over time, this might develop them in a direction that's beneficial. But you get more benefits. So what's the danger if you don't? If you start to promise and don't deliver on this?
Right. So let's say your employer has a a very a sufficient and good wish list, maybe 3 items, and you say that as a manager, yeah, absolutely. During 2021, you and I I'm gonna give you the options and the potential to work on these specific skills or whatever it might be that you have on your specific wish list. So you're gonna develop as a person. Let's say that none of that comes true. And then we come to the next personal development meeting for 2022. And you say, remember now, last year we talked about this. And I go, oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, we didn't have time. We didn't have the funding. I'm so sorry. But in 2022, I promise you, you are going to get these things. Absolutely. You're going to get these new skills. You're going to go to the training courses, whatever I promise you to do. And another year passes and nothing happens. Now, what have I then done as a leader? Well, I have made promises to my staff. And the promises has not been fulfilled, not even one of them, let alone 3. That will create it will create anger and doubt, and the employee will start to think ill of you as a manager and as a leader, because that person now understands that whatever I say does not come true. I'm lying to you, essentially, in their mind. That will create anger, that will create doubt, that will create a situation where I, as an employee, might start to backstab you as a manager towards my colleagues. I will start to talk ill about you in the organization, and I will become angry and mad when I go to work. And when I go to work angry and mad, and essentially you and I have defined, we have developed a conflict. That's essentially what happens. You and I now have a conflict because you promised me something that you did not give me. And of course, if I'm an employee, I also have to ask for it. I can't just sit in my butt and wait. I have to remind my boss that, you know what, we talked about this, remember? And oh yeah, we're gonna get to it. But if it doesn't happen, you're gonna get angry, you're gonna get upset, you're gonna start to talk bad about me as a leader. You're gonna backstab me in front of other colleagues, and lo and behold, I as a manager had now put you as an employee in a situation where you will go to work angry. And you will stop caring, A, about your own work, B, about me as a leader, and probably you're going to be very, very upset when you go to work. And when we are in that state, we are in a conflict state, which we talked about a little bit earlier in previous episodes. When you end up in a conflict state, you are in the worst position in terms of information security. You will nurture and foster employees that will stop caring, because the promises you gave them during the personal development talks was not fulfilled, not the slightest bit, and you will come back and be angry, and then you will stop caring. That's what's going to happen. And when we stop caring, our information security goes down the drain.
That's when mistakes happen.
Yes.
It doesn't need to be malicious in any way, but if you don't care about something, that's also when you don't have any quality in what you're doing, to be perfectly clear. And that's when you stop. And of course, I can motivate people to care by threatening, and I will fire you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
and then you motivate people through fear.
Yes.
But like I said, is that a good motivator?
No, that's called manipulation, and that's gonna work maybe once. There are two definitions of leadership. You can either manipulate a person to get what you want, or you can inspire them. An inspirational leadership is a heck of a lot better to incorporate over time. To try to manipulate a person or threaten a person to do whatever you want them to might work every now and then once. But if that's the way I continuously act over time, my employees will be scared of me. And working scared also foster and nurture the behavior of blaming, complaining, and defending, as we talked about last episode, the BCD culture. So all of this combined is just a cocktail for creating mistakes, essentially, and creating an environment where people are either scared, or they are upset, or they are just not feeling comfortable, and they simply do not care about what they do. So coming back to the whole personal development discussion, I mean, those talks are way more important than you might think. And also, this does not only apply to technicians. So if you're listening to this and you might be the manager of salespeople or finance people or marketing people or whatever it might be, these personal development talks are equally important for your staff in terms of the information security aspect, because it's not only the people with administrative access who can make a mistake. They might be worse. If I have an administrative account, I mean, I can do more harm. But as you have talked about before, and as statistics shows, the most common mistake we do in order to get or create the data breach is through links and emails, or just not being careful, or letting people inside a building who we didn't double check who that person was, and so on. So that goes for everyone. So even if you're not working with or are in charge of technical administrators, this is equally important to keep your staff happy and fulfill their needs, because it is a personal need. That's what you talk about during a personal development talk. You talk about personal needs and wants, and if those are not fulfilled, if you don't meet them, if you don't actually provide what you promise to do, you will create anger and disbelief, and you will create a employee who will become an information security threat, no matter where they work in the building.
But if we look at it from an opportunity perspective, imagine if you have an opportunity, and this is why I encourage everyone, regardless of what type of relationship you already have with your manager, make a reasonable Christmas wish list. How can the manager help me fulfill my aspirations to what I want to have in my experience when it comes time next year?
Yes.
And as a manager, listen and do the same. Think, okay, what is good? What can we achieve together? What is fulfillable? Don't overpromise, but believe me, be straightforward, and this will be. But of course, opening up and having this discussion means that you have to trust each other.
Yes.
Or otherwise, this discussion will end up surrounding an adjustable desk.
Yeah.
And this is what I encourage now in Christmas times. Even if you don't trust each other today or have this relationship, make a Christmas wish list and start talking about this.
Yes.
Because this will build a relationship with your manager. And if you as a manager handles this right and actually delivers on your promises, this will strengthen your relationship. And now all managers screaming, what is the point of having a relationship with my employees?
Well, first and foremost, it's pretty good to know who's actually working for you. Let's start in that regard. Second of all, if we do not have a relationship, meaning we actually trust each other and we actually can talk to each other and we can be open and frank with each other without the fear of being backstabbed or being talked down to or being hushed up, meaning you're not allowed to talk, you will not be able to create a team that will be what we define as a high performance team. You will remain as a team that is either in complete need of the local manager to be there at all times, being a stage 1 team, or you will end up in a conflict stage, which you cannot get out of. So you as a manager need to develop a proper relationship with your staff. You don't have to be best friends forever. That's not what we're talking about. You don't have to be best buddies outside of work, but you need to have a relationship within your workspace where you actually can talk to each other, trust each other, and actually have an open and frank communication. So with that being said, if you want to create an environment where your team can thrive and actually become a high performance team, it's an absolute must. And when you are leading a team, unfortunately, whenever you become the manager or the person in charge, 80% of what you do is about relationships and everything outside of the practical things that your team actually does, which is a problem if you are, let's say, a technical person and you like technical things and you want to be involved into the technical bits in which your team works with. Yeah, 20% of your time is going to be spent on the technical bits. 80% of the time is going to be regarding people, relationship, and everything outside of your specific operational world. If that is something that you don't like, and that's something that you don't want, it's going to be a tough gig to be a manager for a specific team. You have to understand that your job is to build relationships. Now, we're not saying we're perfect at this either. We're saying this out of personal experience, meaning I've either been employed by an employee or having a manager which I could talk to, or someone that I couldn't talk to, and I know the differences between the two. Or me as a leader have done the same mistakes previously, so I understand when I had a group that was working well, which I had good relationships with, and when I had a team that didn't work well, I probably, and now when I look back, no, I had poor relationships with. So this is not us being Mr. Fantastic saying that we're always doing the same thing, the right things. We're just claiming that out of personal experience, we know the differences between the two.
But like I said, for at least you in Europe, there where you have this mandatory thing, union thing, don't see it as a just obstacle and something extra on top that's just wasteful. Don't waste the time. This is a prime opportunity, and that's why I encourage every employee out there, think about it. Do a Christmas wish list. Think about, what do I want to add to my experience for next year?
Yep.
And just make a list in your mind, because the clearer or more concrete and more achievable you make it, the easier it is to agree upon with the manager, and the easier it is to come to an agreement and say, okay, this is what we both will do, because it's a two-way thing as well. It requires an effort from the employee, and it requires an effort from the manager. But that's a simple thing you can agree upon. So, and then you have an opportunity next year to evaluate, did this come true? What was in the way then? And what should we do for next year? So I say, take the opportunity, because at the downside, if you don't do it, is big, and the upside, if you do it right, is also huge. So don't waste the opportunity. And like I say, try and encourage, because if you're put on the spot and I just grab you and say, what do you want for next year? And people will say, and then you end up talking about an adjustable desk all of a sudden, because that's what you can figure out from the top of your mind. So everyone listening, please do make a list, and encourage your employees to make a list. Encourage them to go and think about this, because then when you have the meetings, it's much easier just to say, okay, this is my Christmas wish list. Let's have a look and see what's achievable. Okay, this thing on this, I can say, this I think is really achievable. This is something within my power to change. This is something I can actually help you with, adjust, and okay. And then we agree on that. So that's easier. But then both parties know what's expected of them during the next year. So that's, I think, a good thing. And it helps build relations. So, I know it can be scary putting yourself out there with a Christmas wish list, because it tells a lot about what do I strive for. But, I think it's perfectly worth it. And like I said, it's Christmas time soon, so let's do that and hope that people get a bit of the Christmas spirit.
Yes, absolutely. Let's see if we can work a little bit on the identity portion of the equation. Behavior equals identity plus a situation. Remember now, folks, situation is a daily thing. You can work on that on a daily basis. Don't do it once a year. That's poor leadership. For next week, Kim, we're going to just give the audience a bit of a cliffhanger here. We just recently, I think it was the other day, it came out an article. We're going to swap topics here, but we're going to just give you a little bit of a hint and a teaser for what's going to come up next week. With regarding the EU, GDPR, and Brexit, big news came out regarding the UK and the Brexit. And just quickly, the summarize what happened, and we're going to talk about that in detail next week.
Yeah, the Court of Justice, European Court of Justice, came out with a ruling that pretty much said that UK has the same type of snooping programs. That was the same type of behavior that actually eliminated Privacy Shield. And they came out with a ruling that said, no, even if you have national security as a motivation, you are not allowed to disregard the GDPR safeguards totally.
Nope.
So there are still GDPR safeguards you have to take, even if it's about national security. Mm-hmm. So earlier, there is opening in GDPR to make exceptions when it comes to national security. But first off, that applies to members only. So when the UK leaves, they will become a third country. Mm-hmm. And this is not unlimited rights. So this doesn't mean that, oh, this is national security, therefore I can totally ignore anything about GDPR. And that's not true either. As the European Union, the Court of Justice of the European Union, consider this a human right. So if I say I will revoke the voting rights for women due to national security reasons, that would still be something that the EU court would strike down and say, no, you cannot do that. So there are still limits. And now these limits have started to become tested. And they have considered that the mass surveillance programs that the UK provide will actually land the UK in the same status as the United States. It would be pretty much impossible to contract someone within the UK to do something when it comes to the GDPR. So this is something we will discuss more next week. But yeah,
yes, we're gonna go into depth regarding that next week, and hopefully we might be able to get a hold of a guest a couple of weeks down the line as well, who has way more info about this than we do. But that's a teaser for the future. But we will go into this specific topic in details next week. So I hope you stayed with us, and I hope you listened to the podcast. We do thank you for joining us here. And if you want to participate, if you want to leave questions, if you have anything that you want to either tell us that you like or you don't like, feel free to do so at citynetwork.eu/podcast, and you'll find all the information regarding the episodes, links to the programs, and so on. And once again, if you want to leave questions, you can do that there. We hope that you do. We'll close the shop today, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Bye-bye.